the mockery and the drive the bridge of the crimson horizon hummed with the low vibration of its quantum engines as Captain Alina Vasquez stepped through the airlock. Her boots clicked against the metallic floor, each step measured and deliberate. The Coalition vessel was a marvel of interspecies engineering, with sleek corridors that accommodated both human and alien physiology. But Alina wasn't here to admire the architecture. She was here to prove herself to beings who thought humans were nothing more than primitive WARMONGERS. General Corax stood at the center of the command bridge, his reptilian form towering over the tactical display. His scales gleamed under the artificial lighting, and his yellow eyes tracked Elena's movement with the kind of predatory focus that had made his species feared across 3 star systems. Around him, various alien officers whispered among themselves, their chittering voices creating a symphony of skepticism. "So this is the famous Captain Vasquez," Corax said, his voice carrying the distinctive hiss of his people. "The human with the impossible record." He gestured to a holographic display showing Elena's military file. 840 confirmed kills. Quite impressive for a species that only discovered faster-than-light travel 3 decades ago. Alina stood at attention, her expression neutral despite the obvious mockery in Corax's tone. She had heard it all before. The disbelief, the condescension, the assumption that human military records were inflated propaganda. It no longer bothered. Her words were just noise compared to the screams of dying enemies. "Sir," she replied simply, offering no explanation or defense. Lieutenant Maya Chen, Elena's former squadmate and the only other human on the bridge, shifted uncomfortably near. The communications station. She had served with Alina during the Kepler station siege, and knew exactly what the captain was capable of. But Maya also knew that Alina preferred to let her actions speak, rather than waste time on words. "Tell me, Captain," Corax continued, circling Alina like a predator studying prey, "how exactly does a human accumulate such numbers? Your species fights with crude kinetic weapons and relies on brute force tactics. My intelligence reports suggest humans are emotional in combat, unpredictable, hardly the precision required for such an impressive kill count." The other aliens on the bridge chittered in agreement. A insectoid officer with compound eyes spoke up. "General, perhaps the human records include wounded enemies as kills, or maybe they count each limb severed as a separate victory." The comment drew harsh laughter from the alien crew. Elena's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but she maintained her composure. Maya watched nervously, knowing that look. It was the same expression Alina had worn moments before she had breached the Void Swarm's defensive line at Kepler Station. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" Alina asked, her voice calm and measured. Corax's eyes narrowed with amusement. "By all means, Captain, enlighten us with human wisdom." "You're right. About one thing, General. Humans are emotional in combat. We fight with anger, with fear, with desperation. But you're wrong about what that means." Alina reached into her tactical vest and withdrew a small data drive, placing it gently on the holographic table. "We don't fight with precision because we're calculating. We fight with precision because we have to. Because if we don't, everyone we care about dies." The bridge fell silent, except for the steady hum of the ship's systems. Corax stared at the drive, his predatory smile fading slightly. "And what exactly is this supposed to prove, Captain?" "Combat footage," Alina replied. "Every engagement, every kill, every moment that built my record. I've carried this drive for 7 years, waiting for someone to question my numbers. She looked directly into Korax's yellow eyes. You want proof? Let's start with the raids on New Geneva. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered New Geneva. The colony had been overrun by Zephyrian raiders, their energy weapons cutting through the settlement's defenses like plasma through tissue paper. Alina had been on leave, visiting her sister's family when the attack began. By the time coalition forces arrived, the colony was supposed to be nothing but ash and bone. Korax picked up the drive, examining it with the casual interest of someone handling a potential explosive. Very well, Captain. Let's see what human warfare looks like up close. He inserted the drive into the holographic display system. The bridge darkened as the first video file loaded. The timestamp read the 15th of March, 8:47, the date of the New Geneva massacre. The footage was grainy, recorded from a civilian security camera that had somehow survived the initial bombardment. The scene showed the colony's main street, buildings burning, civilians running in panic, as energy bolts streaked overhead. Then Alina appeared on screen. She moved like liquid death through the chaos, a standard coalition rifle in her hands and a look of cold fury on her face. A group of Zephyrian raiders, their energy weapons glowing with charged plasma, rounded a corner expecting easy prey. Instead, they found Alina crouched behind an overturned hovercar, her weapon already trained on their position. The aliens on the bridge watched in stunned silence as Alina opened fire. 3 precise shots, 3 dead raiders. But what shocked them wasn't the accuracy, was the way she moved afterward. Instead of taking cover, she sprinted forward, using the raiders' own confusion against them. She rolled behind a burning barricade, flanked left, and caught another squad completely off guard. Impossible, one of the alien officers whispered. She's using their own tactics against them. No, Maya said quietly, her voice carrying across the silent bridge. She's using their tactics better than they are. The footage continued, showing Elena's systematic destruction of the raiding party. She didn't just kill them, she hunted them. When they tried to retreat, she cut off their escape routes. When they attempted to regroup, she struck from unexpected angles. And when they finally tried to call for orbital support, she had already destroyed their communication array with a jury-rigged explosive made from colony mining equipment. The final scene showed Alina standing in the colony's central plaza, surrounded by 37 dead Zephyrian raiders. Her clothes were torn and bloodied, her rifle was cracked from overuse, but she was alive. Behind her, nearly 200 colonists emerged from their hiding places, including 3 small children who ran toward her, calling Aunt Alina. The holographic display flickered and returned to standby mode. The bridge remained silent for a long moment, the only sound the steady breathing of beings who had just witnessed something that challenged their understanding of human capability. General Korax was the first to speak, his voice lacking its earlier mockery. That was 37 kills in less than 2 hours, against an enemy known for their tactical superiority and advanced weaponry. 37 confirmed, Alina corrected. The orbital bombardment probably got a few more, but I didn't see the bodies. She reached for the drive. That's just folder 1. There are 43 more engagements on that drive, including the siege of Kepler Station. Maya saw several alien officers exchange glances. They had all heard of Kepler Station, the military outpost that had somehow held against a void. Swarm invasion force of over 10,000. The official coalition reports were classified, but rumors spoke of impossible odds and a defense that should have failed within hours. the Void Swarm. Korax's voice carried a note of genuine interest now. You fought the Void Swarm. I coordinated the defense, Alina replied. Station had a complement of 800 coalition forces from 12 different species. We held for 18 days against a force that outnumbered us 12-1. The insectoid officer who had earlier mocked Elena's record stepped forward, his compound eyes reflecting the bridge lighting. The official reports state that Kepler Station was saved by superior coalition technology and interspecies cooperation. There was no mention of individual heroics. Elena's expression didn't change. That's because I wrote the report. I don't do heroics, Lieutenant. I do what needs to be done to keep my people alive. She tapped the drive again. Folder 15 through 27 cover the Kepler engagement. But I warn you, the Void Swarm doesn't just kill. They ... consume. The footage might be disturbing for some species. Maya remembered the nightmares that had plagued her after Kepler Station. The Void Swarm wasn't just another enemy, they were something that seemed to exist purely to unmake everything else. Their weapons didn't just destroy, they erased. Their tactics weren't just brutal. They were designed to break the will of their opponents before the killing even began. And Alina had not just survived 18 days against them. She had orchestrated a victory that the Coalition's best military minds had deemed impossible. General Korax studied Alina with new eyes, his predatory gaze now mixed with something approaching respect. Captain Vasquez, I believe we may have underestimated your capabilities. Most people do, Alina replied. It's why I'm still alive. The bridge's communication system chimed, and a voice announced the arrival of the Coalition fleet at the mission staging area. Through the main viewports, dozens of ships could be seen dropping out of hyperspace, their running lights creating a constellation against the darkness of space. Asterisk. Station Omega 7 is out there, Korax said, pointing toward a distant star system. Intelligence suggests the Void Swarm has fortified it beyond our ability to retake. The Coalition wants to negotiate, perhaps offer a trade for the station's return. Elena's expression hardened. General, with respect, you don't negotiate with the Void Swarm. You don't trade with them. You don't reason with them. She looked directly at him. You kill them all, or they kill everything you've ever cared about. The alien officers shifted. Uncomfortably, the Coalition had been built on the principle of diplomatic solutions backed by superior firepower. The idea of total warfare, of complete destruction of an enemy, was antithetical to their governing philosophy. Captain, Korax said carefully, the Coalition doesn't engage in genocidal warfare. We believe in the possibility of peaceful coexistence with all sentient species. Then you've never seen what happens to a world after the Void Swarm is finished. With it, Alina replied. Her voice carried a weight that made even the most veteran officers on the bridge pause. But I have. She reached for the data drive again. Folder 43. My homeworld, 3 years ago. Asterisk, the proof and the revelation, the holographic display flickered to life once more, but this time the image was different. Instead of combat footage, it showed a peaceful world from orbit green continents, blue oceans, and the soft glow of cities visible on the night side. The planet looked like paradise, a jewel suspended in the darkness of space. Terra Nova, Alina said, her voice softer now, but carrying an undercurrent of steel. Population, 4,300,000. My birth world. Maya felt her heart sink. She had wondered why Alina never spoke about her family, why she had no personal effects beyond her weapons and that single data drive. Now she was beginning to understand. General Korax leaned forward, his reptilian features showing genuine interest. "Captain, if this is your homeworld, why aren't you listed as a Terra Nova native in your file?" "Because Terra Nova doesn't exist anymore," Alina replied. "Watch." The peaceful orbital view suddenly changed. Dark shapes appeared at the edge of the system, dozens of them, moving with the disturbing fluidity that characterized Void Swarm. Vessels. They weren't ships in any conventional sense, but rather organic constructs that seemed to bend space around them, creating distortions that hurt to look at directly. The Void Swarm arrived without warning, Alina continued, her voice taking on the flat tone of someone reciting a report. Our defense grid was state-of-the-art, equipped with the latest coalition technology: plasma cannons, quantum shields, automated defense satellites. We had early warning systems that could detect threats 3 systems away. The footage showed the planet's defenses activating brilliant beams of energy lancing out toward the approaching swarm. Defensive shields, shimmering around orbital platforms. For a moment, it looked like the defenses might hold. Several of the Void Swarm constructs were destroyed, their organic hulls rupturing in silent explosions. Then the real attack began. The surviving Void Swarm vessels didn't return fire with weapons. Instead, they began to sing a harmonic frequency that resonated through space itself. The defensive satellites started to malfunction, their targeting systems scrambled by the alien harmonics. The orbital platform's shields flickered and died as the frequency disrupted their power cores. "They don't just attack your defenses," Alina explained. "They attack the fundamental forces that make your technology work. Electromagnetic fields, quantum entanglement, even gravitational constants. Nothing is safe from their influence." The aliens on the bridge watched in horrified fascination as Terra Nova's defenses crumbled. The planet's surface began to darken as the Void Swarm's influence spread. Cities went dark, not from destruction, but from some kind of fundamental failure of energy itself. "I was off-world when it started," Alina continued, "returning from a mission to the Outer Rim. By the time I reached Terra Nova, the planet was already ... changing." The footage switched to Elena's personal ship approaching the planet. What had been a green and blue world was now something else entirely, a sphere of writhing darkness punctuated by veins of sickly light. The very atmosphere seemed to be alive, pulsing with an eye rhythm that suggested breathing. "The Void Swarm doesn't just kill," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They consume. They take everything that makes a world alive and turn it into something that serves their purpose. The people, the animals, the plants, even the air and water, become part of their collective." Maya had to look away from the screen. She had seen Void Swarm attacks before, but nothing like this. This wasn't warfare, it was transformation on a planetary scale. "Captain," the insectoid officer said hesitantly, "how did you survive?" "If the entire planet was converted." "I didn't try to save the planet," Alina replied. "By the time I arrived, Terra Nova was already dead. But the Void Swarm had made a mistake. They had consumed the planet so completely that they had become vulnerable in a way they rarely are." The footage showed Elena's ship diving toward the planet's surface, weaving between the organic constructs that now orbited where defense satellites had once been. She wasn't running away, she was heading directly into the heart of the transformed world. "They had created a central processing node," Elena explained, "a living structure that coordinated the entire planetary conversion. It was beautiful. In a horrifying way, a cathedral of flesh and metal that pulsed with the combined consciousness of 4 million souls. General Corax's yellow eyes were fixed on the screen. You attacked it alone. I had help, Alina said. The people of Terra Nova were still alive, in a sense. They had become part of the Void Swarm's collective consciousness, but they retained enough individuality to recognize me, to remember who they had been. The footage showed Elena's ship landing near the central node. She emerged wearing a modified environmental suit, carrying weapons that Maya didn't recognize, jury-rigged devices that seemed to have been built from Coalition technology but modified beyond standard specifications. I spent 3 days inside that structure, Alina continued, fighting through corridors made of living tissue, past walls that whispered with the voices of my family and friends. The Void Swarm tried to convert me, to make me part of their collective. But every time they got close, someone I knew would break free just long enough to warn me, to help me find another path. The footage became erratic, showing brief glimpses of Elena's journey through the alien structure. She moved with desperate efficiency, using explosives and energy weapons to carve a path deeper into the node. But the most disturbing part was the voices, dozens of them, all speaking at once, sometimes in harmony with the Void Swarm's collective will, sometimes breaking free to scream warnings or plead for death. My sister Maria helped me find the core, Alina said, her voice breaking slightly. She had been converted early, along with her children, but she fought the collective long enough to show me the way. The footage showed Alina standing before a massive organic structure, pulsing with dark energy. The quantum resonance chamber, destroy it, and the entire planetary conversion collapses. What happened next was barely visible through the static and interference. Alina placed her charges with surgical precision, her movements guided by voices that only she could hear. The explosion, when it came, was not just physical, it was a wave of released consciousness that swept across the entire planet. The screen went white, then black, then showed Elena's ship fleeing the dying world as Terra Nova collapsed in on itself. The Void Swarm constructs that had orbited the planet were dragged down with it. Their organic hulls, unable to escape the gravitational collapse that Elena's sabotage had triggered. 4,300,000 kills, Elena said quietly. All confirmed. All people I knew personally. She looked round the bridge at the stunned alien faces. That's what's waiting for us at Station Omega-7. Not an enemy we can negotiate with. Not a force we can reason with. Just hunger. Endless. Consuming hunger. The bridge remained silent for a long moment. Even the ship's systems seemed to have quieted, as if the very air was holding its breath. Finally, General Corax spoke, his voice carrying a weight that hadn't been there before. Captain Vasquez, I believe I owe you an apology. We have misunderstood the nature of both the threat and your experience. No apology needed, General, Alina replied. But I need to know, you prepared to do what's necessary to retake Station Omega-7? Because if you're not, if you're still thinking in terms of conventional warfare and acceptable losses, then you're going to lose more than just a station. Corax studied her for a long moment, his predatory gaze now showing something approaching respect. What do you recommend, Captain? Give me command of the assault force, Alina said. Full tactical authority. No interference from Coalition command. No restrictions on weapon selection. No requirements for prisoner capture or infrastructure preservation. That's highly irregular, the insectoid officer protested. Coalition doctrine requires coalition. Doctrine doesn't account for the Void Swarm, Alina interrupted. Your standard tactics, your conventional weapons, your rules of engagement, they're all meaningless against an enemy that can turn your own technology against you. Maya stepped forward, her voice carrying across the bridge. General, I was at Kepler Station. I saw what Captain Vasquez accomplished there. She's not asking for command because she wants glory. She's asking because she knows how to win. Looked around the bridge at his officers, then back at Alina. Captain, if I give you this command, what guarantee do I have that you won't simply destroy the station to eliminate the threat? Elena's expression didn't change. None, if that's what it takes to stop them from spreading. That's what I'll do. Station Omega-7 is already lost, General. The question is whether you want to lose it cleanly or let it become another breeding ground for the Void Swarm. The General was quiet for a long moment, his reptilian features unreadable. Finally, he reached for his command console and began entering a series of codes. Captain Alina Vasquez, by the authority vested in me by the Coalition High Command, I hereby grant you full tactical authority over Operation Omega Retrieval. You will have complete control over all assault forces, weapon selection, and engagement. Protocols. Alina nodded curtly. Thank you, General. I'll need 3 days to prepare the assault force. And I'll need volunteers. Only no one gets assigned to this mission who doesn't understand what we're up against. You'll have whatever you need, Corax replied. But Captain, I hope you understand the magnitude of what you're asking. If you're wrong about the Void Swarm's nature, if there's a chance for peaceful resolution, there isn't, Alina said firmly. I've seen what they do to the people they consume. I've heard their voices calling for death rather than continued existence. As part of the collective, peace with the Void Swarm is just another word for extinction. She reached for the data drive, ejecting it from the holographic display. But don't take my word for it, take theirs. She pointed to the screen where the final image from Terra. Nova still flickered her sister's face, distorted by the Void Swarm's influence, but still recognizable. Mouthing the words "kill us all" over and over again, the bridge fell silent once more. Outside the viewports, the Coalition fleet continued its approach toward Station Omega-7, unaware that their mission had just changed from rescue to extermination. Alina tucked the data drive back into her tactical vest and headed for the airlock. I'll be in the armory, preparing for the assault. Send me anyone who's willing to die to stop the Void Swarm from spreading. As she walked away, Maya heard one of the alien officers whisper to another, "Do you think she's right about the nature of the enemy?" The response was barely audible, but it carried the weight of fear. "I think she's the only one who really understands what we're fighting." Alina paused at the airlock, looking back at the bridge one final time. "General, one more thing. When this is over, assuming we survive, don't put me in for any commendations. Don't write reports about human heroism or Coalition victory. Just make sure everyone knows what the real cost of fighting the Void Swarm is." "And what's that, Captain?" Corax asked. Elena's expression was haunted, carrying the weight of 4 million souls. "Everything you've ever cared about. Everything you've ever loved. Everything that makes you who you are." She stepped through the airlock. "That's the price of victory against the Void Swarm. The question is whether you're willing to pay it." The airlock sealed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving the bridge in silence. General Corax stared at the empty space where Alina had stood, finally understanding why humans had such an impossible reputation in combat. It wasn't because they were particularly skilled or technologically advanced. It was because they were willing to sacrifice everything, including themselves, to protect what they loved, and sometimes That was exactly what victory required. Asterisk.